to another episode of Let's Talk Boxing. I'm Leti.
I'm LB.
And let's talk about one of the fights this weekend.
Let's get it.
So
Who we got?
We have Teofimo Lopez out of Brooklyn, New York.
AKA the Takeover.
Okay.
The Takeover is what he said.
Representing Honduras versus Sandor Martin out of Spain, Catalonia, Barcelona.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it. Let's get right into it.
Let's go.
What did you think about the fight, about Teofimo, about Martin? Let's go.
Yeah, so coming into this fight, we talked and I was like, man, I think this is going to be a really good fight. And I think it's going to be a tougher fight than a lot of people expected. Just because of, I saw him fight against Mikey Garcia. And I will say this, Mikey Garcia didn't look his best.
Martin.
Yeah. Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. Mikey didn't look his best. But still, I gave a lot of credit to Sandor Martin in that fight, and he did win that fight. So I knew that Teo was gonna have some issues just for the simple fact of Martin's style. Martin's style. He's a boxer. He's patient. He doesn't take too many risks. So I knew he was. He's kind of more of a thinking boxer. So I kind of thought that he would give Teofimo some problems, but I still expected Teofimo to pull it out. But that's kind of how I felt going into this fight. But what do you think?
Me kind of going into the fight, I thought that Theo was actually gonna do much more. I did think that he would come out victorious clearly. Mm-hmm. I know when I seen Martin fight against Mikey. Yeah. He looked good, but because I think, again, we know the whole thing and the backstory behind it with Mikey not even really wanting to fight. So I didn't give too much to Martin after that fight. So I was expecting not what I saw. I'm going to just say that. Okay. Definitely not what I saw that night.
Okay. But so if we kind of get in the fight, Sandor Martin, he's a southpaw. He's not the most athletic. He's not the most athletic fighter, and I feel like he just does a lot of things good. I don't really see him do things that is necessarily great. Teo is definitely the more athletic fighter. Between the two, he did struggle. I wanted to see him use his jab a lot more. He has a lot of athleticism. I wish he would have cut off the ring a lot better. Also, with him being as athletic as he was, so he can better set up those punches that he was looking to land. But for the most part, it seemed like he was just kind of chasing Martin around, and Martin was just taking that half step back and just countering with the right hook. He was countering with the check right hook all night.
Yeah, and he knocked him down in the second round, which I absolutely was not expecting. Yeah. Because, if you look at his, record, it don't look like he got a lot of power. Yeah. So when he dropped him, I was like, oh shit, it caught my attention. We were in between, the Crawford fight and then this fight. And then, that really just, took me off guard. Martin, I think he, like you said, he's more of a boxer. He definitely used the ring to his advantage. Definitely. He was definitely moving around that ring. He never really just stood in one place. Yeah. Which I think he's he said himself, he's really just into the boxing. He does this. He is boxing. Yeah. So he knew he couldn't stay in one place with Theo, especially with Theo's power.
And that definitely gave Theo some problems. Theo definitely looked like he wanted to fight, and Sandor Martin wasn't giving him that. And that dude, Sandor Martin's a slippery dude.
Yeah, he is. And actually, I'm gonna say he looked a lot bigger than Theo. Also,
yeah, that's another thing.
He's a small, low-key 140, or Sandor's bigger because he definitely looked bigger than.
Yeah, and it's talking about the size. Yeah, Sandor Martin. He didn't look. When him and Mikey went up against each other, Mikey was the bigger fighter. But we both noticed that. The size Theo looked kind of small at 140, and I think so. It was definitely, you could definitely tell a difference there.
Yeah, and to kind of talk on Teofimo's side, I definitely did expect a lot more from him. Now Theo did say it's kind of harder to get someone who doesn't want to sit in there and exchange and just moving around a lot. But again, you're a boxer. This is what you do. You're supposed to know how to get a boxer that boxes that way.
Exactly, and he knew coming in. What he was about. He saw the Mikey Garcia fight, so I mean.
Yeah, I was just saying it was a controversy with Theo winning. Some people thought Martin won. Some people thought Theo won by 1 or 2 rounds. Yeah. It was just going either way. Honestly, I gotta say this is one of the toughest fights for me to judge. As to not I at some point I was like, what am I seeing on TV? What am I watching? What kind of fight is this, low key? Because I don't think that either fighter won. I don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, to kind of talk about the fight, yeah. It was a close fight, and you did have Teofimo putting on the pressure all night. He was the one coming forward and the aggressor. And then for the most part, Sandor Martin was just sitting back and counterpunching off of Teofimo. Now, and so if he really did want to grab this fight by the reins, I felt like he should have been more active and did let his hands go more. Martin, to really stamp it. And I think that would have given him the victory. But the fact that he was counterpunching and he wasn't being as active, that's it kind of left the door open for something like this to happen. So now for me, judging this fight, it could kind of be like one of those fights like as a judge, like what do you like to see? He was, because like you said, Teo was the aggressor, and he did land some good shots, and he land the more he did land some good right hands to the body. That's something that he was kind of focusing on, but I mean, Sandor Martin was landing the right hook all night long. I mean, it wasn't, it did knock Teo down, but if he would, I would just say it like this: if Sandor Martin, if he had a little bit more behind his punches, Teo would have really, it would have been a different fight, and we might be looking at this a different way because Teo wasn't really reacting to his punching power that much, aside from him getting dropped early in the fight.
And I mean, again, this kind of goes, and low-key in the sport of boxing, what happens with the judging, I think Sandor, unfortunately should kind of know, like, damn, I'm in his home place, the judges might kind of sway to him. I need to, like, even he said at the end, like, maybe I should have given more of a war, because if you're kind of fighting off Theo, because every time, like you said, he really let go of his hands, mainly when Teofimo was trying to, get punches on him, that's when he would do something. Yeah. So I think coming into in Brooklyn, like, you needed to do, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to have to say this with Theo. I don't think he did enough either. Again, he is the superstar in the fight. He's fought competition, and he did not look his best. I don't know what was going on. Again, we don't want to get into what's going on, outside the ring, but I definitely think that he should have closed the show in a much better to where nobody is like, you didn't win the fight, especially if he's trying to find this competition and like a champ.
And I'm glad you said that, because just like we said that Sandor Martin left the door open, so did Teo. Teo left the door open too. And I actually expected more from Teo, just for the simple fact of the fact that he was getting hit with the same shot all night. Like, I expected him to make an adjustment, like, and he made no adjustment to Sandor Martin taking that half step back and the check right hook. He literally got caught with it from when he got knocked down within the second round all the way through 12, and he made no adjustment. And then
and like the fight was just kind of stagnant.
It was kind of stagnant, because even, and another thing about Teo is he never really switched up his attack. It was the same. It was predictable, and that also made it easy for Sandor Martin too to get out of the way of shots.
I think he was probably getting kind of frustrated.
Yeah, he definitely was getting frustrated.
Him a lot, and it's just it didn't go how I thought. I hope Theo goes back and rewatches it and learns from it, because I even know that it seemed like he wasn't even happy with himself, after the fight. But
yeah, that's what it was. He's saying it was definitely a close fight. It could have gone either way. Teo got the nod. But it wasn't a good performance for Teo.
Yeah.
But okay, so before we get into who next, we already know that Teo, you mentioned in the press conference, he said, the post fight, he said, I want Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, and Kambosos, and so those are people he called out, but after a performance like this, it's got those, especially when it comes to Regis. If he gets in there with Regis like that,
it's tough.
That's gonna be tough if he get in there like that, with a performance like this, or Josh Taylor either. He's definitely gonna need to be able to make adjustments for things like that. And so I think those are two matches that he does want, but I think those are those are going to be pretty tough for him. But yeah, I mean, who do you want to see him fight next?
Ah, man, I really don't know. Who do you want to see him fight next?
I think that the best thing for Teo is, everything went downhill from when he fought Gamboa.
That's what I was gonna say.
And you know what? I think for his,
he needs to get that back.
Yeah,
he needs to
I think for his mental and everything, he needs to right that wrong.
That's exactly what I was saying. You know what? I know who. I need to see that.
He needs to right that wrong, and I think that we might get the same Teo. But I think that still haunts him in a way. And I think that for him to get back for everything, I think he needs to get that that Kambosos fight.
I agree.
And like we did say, he does look a little smaller at 140. I don't know if he can make 135 because he said he couldn't. Maybe they can get him at a catch weight, maybe a 137 or something like that. I think Teo can make that. Yeah. 137 because even when he was coming in at his last fight, I think he was at 137 or 138. Yeah. Somewhere around there for his last weigh-in. So I think that I think that needs to happen just to get his mojo back. It feels like.
I was gonna say, I think that definitely needs to happen. Like you said, he needs to revenge, and let's see what happens from there. Whoever wins is a better man, But I think that he needs that for sure. But I don't think he should jump into a Regis fight.
But I'm gonna say it like this though. But I mean, if Teo does jump into a Regis or a Josh Taylor, I'm gonna say it like this. If he does jump into a fight, my hat's off to him. That'd be because for him to jump into a fight like that. Especially after this, he's been, that'd be him backing up everything he's saying because he's been calling out these guys, so for him to, he can put his money where his mouth is and he can fight those guys. So, I'm curious to see, what happens. I know probably, Top Rank after this they probably are less likely to want to put him in there with him, but, he would get props for me if he did go, he gonna get props for me if he does go after a Regis or a Josh Taylor and gets those fights. But yeah, I mean the Gambosos, I think that'd be good for good for him. Yes, to get back.
With that. And I really hope that he goes back and he watches his performance and he's got the right people around him telling him, the actual truth as to what's going on and not just yes men's. But I think I definitely need to see that for him because, like you said, he always calls out the top people, the people with the belts also. And so I really want him to be in the right state of mind when that opportunity comes for him again to fight for belts again. Yeah,
definitely. Mm-hmm. But and of course, the fight that I can't, I'm always gonna want to see him and Devin Haney. But we know Devin Haney, the champ at 135, the undisputed champ, is he's supposed to be fighting Loma. But I would also love that fight too at 140 at some point when Devin moves up. Yeah. But yeah. But that's all we got. So let us know below what you thought of the fight. And also who you want to see Teo match up against. Right. But that's all we got. So thanks for tuning in, y'all.
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Or talk your shit. And